What's up guys, my name is Kimball, I am the kickboxing nerd, and in this video I talk about kickboxing. This is the first video of the year, so I want to say Happy New Year. I hope you had a great New Year's Eve, you had a great Christmas. I hope you had a nice time with your family and friends. Today we're gonna talk about kickboxing. And today is a special day since what I'm going to do is look back at the previous year, look at all the big highlights. Something I do every year, but this is the first time I'll do it in English. I take a look back at my channel, I'll take a look back at the year of kickboxing, because of course there's happened a lot. Of course, a look back at 2024 wouldn't be complete without a award show. So I'm going to do an award show where I talk about the best things that happened in kickboxing. I can't wait. So before we do that, let's dive into what happened in the last 12 months of my channel. First of all, I had an amazing year. I made so much content. I made more content than the previous year. This year I made 54 videos, which is insane for me. Never I've thought that I would be making content for kickboxing such a scale, which in comparison to other channels, maybe that's not a lot. I'm enjoying talking about kickboxing, collaborating with other people like Bjarne, of course, talking with you guys, because everybody who's listening or watching, man, I appreciate you a lot. Without you guys, this channel wouldn't have happened, because although I'm having such a fun time making this, of course, I couldn't do this without the community. Well, the year kicked off with a new visual branding, and I was really happy about it because I really put in a lot of hours. I think I did a great job. Even though in the last moment of the year I changed up the name, well, the visual branding is still quite similar. I think the biggest difference is the name and of course the logo, because I used to be called the Kickbox Podcast, which is a very Dutch name, but I wanted to do more English content, so I changed up the name into the Kickboxing Nerd. Hey, second video under this name, but I'm still figuring this out, and you know, this English thing, and from what I've seen, you guys, you like it, so I'm probably going to continue with this. Anyway, of course, I've been invited to Warrior Talk, where I was in the show of Remy Bonjeski, the former K1 champion. There were guests like, for example, Errol Zimmerman, Isis Verbeek, Syed Hamzaoui. Pretty cool. I've been invited to go to a glory show as a member of the press, because I don't consider myself press, but at the same time, I got a press card, I guess that made me press that day. Anyway, it was really cool. I was at 92, which was pretty cool. Of course, with the headliner, Donovan Wiese versus Ulrich Bokeme. I met a lot of great kickboxers. For example, I met Don Snow, I met Big Sexy, I met Ristov, so many great guys. I met Jan Kaffa, so many, you know, these guys are really nice. On TV, you always see these guys like fighting and stuff like that, but in real life, they're really nice. And you know, I might go back to another event. I haven't got the time yet, but you know, we'll see what happens in the next year. Anyway, I also got an interview with Carlos Kikuta, the former K1 producer, which was pretty cool as well, because I used to watch the K1, so to be able to interview the biggest guy in the organization at the time was pretty insane for me. So it was really a highlight of the past year in my channel. Of course, like always, I've invited Bjarne Colette in a video where I talked with him about different events. Those videos were in Dutch, so for you guys, if you don't speak Dutch, I'm sorry for that. But you know, I've talked to Bjarne about doing something in English, so we might do that in 2025. Also, I used to post weekly. I have stopped that because it took a lot of my time. I got a full-time job. For people who have been watching my channel for a long time, they might know I am currently busy in renovating a house, which takes up a lot of time, so I couldn't just get more time to, you know, make weekly videos. And the thing is, I personally enjoy when I can take a little bit more time into, you know, edit my videos, like preparing everything, because I prefer quality over quantity. So in that sense, I am not producing as much videos, but the videos I am producing and publishing, I'm quite proud of them. So I think that's the way I'm going forward in the next year as well. You know, also, although I have been talking a lot about current events and stuff like that, I want to do like more timeless videos, like videos that age well. For example, this video is, of course, I'm talking about stuff in retrospect. I'm talking about the past, but at the same time, you know, if you want to know what happened in 2024, even it's 2030, you can still watch this video and be, you know, entertained about what happened that year. So if you're from 2030, awesome. As mentioned, I'm going to do only English content from now on, unless there's maybe an interview where I have to speak Dutch because it makes for an easier conversation. But you know, I feel like to reach a broader audience, like, no, I want to spread the love of kickboxing so much that I feel like English is more appropriate. So I think I will mostly continue in English. Also, I wrote a couple of articles for Beyond Kickboxing and Warrior Code as well. So check those channels out as well, because, you know, these guys are also trying to spread the love of kickboxing. So, all right, let's take a look back at the year. You know, there has happened a lot in 2024. different organizations with different visions, different dreams, different fights. I'm gonna talk a little bit about what happened last year. Let's start with Glory. I mean, they are the biggest organization in the world at this moment regarding kickboxing. So, you know, let's take a look back at what happened for them. Because it wasn't always ups, there were definitely some downs. So let's talk a little bit about that. The year started with the former CEO Maurice Hols telling that the Grand Prix will be returning this year, and of course it was met with a lot of attention, a lot of hype. They also announced that they will be dropping the 70 kg and the women's division, which man, if you've been watching my videos, you know, man, I felt bad about that because you know, the 70 kg division is historically one of the most important. I've talked a lot about that. It just doesn't feel right to have an organization without the 70 kg division. So, yeah. Anyway, they of course dropped the women's division. I was really quite, you know, disappointed about that as well, because I know that the guys are at this moment bringing more in eyeballs than the women do. But the thing is, you have to put some attention to something to, you know, everything you put attention to will grow. And in my opinion, they haven't put enough attention to the women's division, which is a shame. So I really hope they will bring it back in 2025. But I'm not sure if they're gonna do that. But you know, there's still other organizations that are hosting a lot of great women fights. For example, Rise recently has put on a fight between Arina Kobayashi and Tessa Decombe, which was amazing. Anyway, it's a shame Glory has dropped this one. But to continue, they also mentioned that they are going to fuse the 65 kg division together with Rise's divisions in 65 kg. Well, it kind of happened. They had a very awesome Grand Prix in December, which was a collaboration. I have to say that it was a collaboration. It was really cool, was awesome. But they also announced that they were going to do a joint collaborative ranking, which means a ranking between Rise fighters and Glory fighters. But that never happened. To be honest, I don't think that will happen anytime soon, because the former CEO Maurice Hols, he parted ways with Glory because he wasn't satisfied how their management style was from the owners. And I was kind of bummed out because I felt like he had a great vision. He wanted to make the rankings more important. He reintroduced the Grand Prix. He was collaborating with Rise. He had some great ideas, and I feel like when he stepped down, because some of those ideas were still continued on in the year, because, you know, they had planned a few Grand Prix, but they appointed a new CEO, which actually is a former CEO, which is Marshall Zelazny. He used to be the CEO of Glory, but he parted ways during the COVID times. He got brought in again, and there was this strategy that was made by Maurice. Marshall Zelazny came in, and you just could feel there was like Glory didn't really know what to do with that situation at the time, which was really disappointing and really frustrating as a fan, to be honest. Because he did host a Grand Prix in heavyweight and they did host a Grand Prix in light heavyweight, but they didn't organize a Grand Prix in middleweight, not in welterweight, obviously not in lightweight, and they did one in featherweight. But the thing is, it didn't feel like it got enough attention as it should have been, because that Grand Prix was awesome. It really was. You should check it out right now. No, not right now, after this video. Anyway, still a great year for Glory because they had a lot of highlights. For example, the heavyweight and light heavyweight and featherweight Grand Prix were very successful, in my opinion, very entertaining. Even Glory Collision 7, with the lack of knockouts, still a very interesting event. They had a really great year, in my opinion. Still, even with all the downs, there were a lot of ups. I mean, they got Bahram Rajabzadeh as a new fan favorite. The rivalry between Abena and Kababas was very interesting, very entertaining. A real bad blood between those guys. Talking about Abena, he actually left the company after his last fight. Even within the month, Glory announced that he will be returning next year. So a very interesting situation right there. I mean, the bad blood wasn't even between Kababas and Abena, but also between Glory and Abena, it seems. I mean, if you look at other rivalries, Levi and Rico, that was awesome. A lot of great fighters, upcomers. 2025 going to be very good for Glory if they keep up the pace. And for me, I need a vision. What do you want to do? They announced a last man standing tournament, which is at the moment, we do not know what it means. But there are rumors. I've heard they will be focusing a little bit more on heavyweight compared to the other division, which I'm not sure if that's the right road to go to, but we'll see what happens. Maybe they will surprise us, because they have been signing top contenders like Rade Opacic, a former one championship fighter, and he's a great heavyweight, a great fighter. So I'm looking forward to the next year for this organization. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll see Grand Prix, maybe not, but there are a lot of potential fights to be made. Let's talk about K1, because K1 has had a very interesting year. Of course, I had an interview with Carlos Kikuta, the former K1 producer. He told me the strategy of 2025, of course, with him leaving the company. I'm not sure what 2025 is going to be, but last year has been the focus on K1 Max and K1 World Grand Prix, the open weight tournament. And of course, with the 70 kg being dropped by Glory, perfect timing for K1 to step into that hole and, you know, build a 70 kg division. And they did, because the K1 World Max tournament was awesome. Of course, you know, Stoichkov Privlansky winning that one, but it was very interesting because they brought back Boakau in his, you know, 20th anniversary of his last K1 Max win, which was very interesting because the fight itself, it was fun, but he's been 40 already, you know, and he was fighting Stoyan, who's in his prime. He even got knocked down, which age is a hell of an opponent. Also, Errol Zimmerman came back, which was fun as well. I mean, the K1 World Grand Prix. Honestly, I wanted to follow that event live. Was no opportunity because they didn't have a broadcasting deal in place, which was a shame because last year they announced at their 30th anniversary, like, we're gonna do a reboot, a rebirth. We want to make the heavyweight kickboxing important again, and we want to conquer the international market again. But the thing is, without broadcasting deals, it's very hard to even follow the organization. I know they were quite close with a broadcasting deal. I really hope next year they will come back with a broadcasting deal in place so international fans can enjoy high-level kickboxing, because even though most of the heavyweights are with Glory, they are still organizing a lot of great events. For example, the K1 World Max, but also divisions like 63 with Yuki Yosa on top, but also, you know, the women's atomweight tournament going to take place in 2025 as well. But we'll see what happens with Carlos leaving the company. They have announced a new producer, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, Rise, of course, one of the, you know, in my opinion, Rise Japan always felt like a little bit of an underdog, but they've been growing steadily. And like last year, they've been very consistent in organizing events. You know, they organized 15 events, which is a lot. And, you know, some are better than others, but the thing is, they are very consistent. Their fighters have a lot of opportunities to fight. Of course, one of their, you know, highlights of the year was the Glory and Rise 65 kg Grand Prix, which was awesome. Again, you know, I'm gonna talk about that later. Early in the year, their El Dorado event was awesome as well, with Miguel Trindade knocking out Chad Collins, of course, which was also, you know, big upset because Chad Collins just came off a victory over Glory champion Petch, which was insane as well, but that was 2023. Anyway, great year for Rise. And also I want to say, you know, Rise does give women the opportunity to fight as well, just like K1 does. And one of the biggest highlights of, you know, women's kickboxing, I already mentioned this, but Arina Kobayashi versus Tessa Decon was really a great sight to behold. So if you enjoy women's kickboxing, you know, Rise and K1 are the place. They've been doing great in that regard. Yeah, one championship, also a big name in combat sports. Honestly, I'm kind of disappointed because I feel like one is considering kickboxing as a nice side project, but not as a main focus. They've been focusing a lot on Muay Thai and a little bit of MMA and a really little bit of kickboxing. They have some stars like Takru. They also have, of course, Superbon, guys like that, Marad Grigorian. They don't really have divisions. So, of course, they do have divisions, but they're not as stacked as, for example, in Glory or maybe in K1 or Rise. So it's very hard to follow what is next for a certain fighter. I just don't like the lack of focus on kickboxing. So, man, you will see that in my award show that one championship doesn't get mentioned a lot. But I hope they will come back in 2025 a lot stronger because, you know, they do have potential in a sense. Like a lot of Japanese fighters want to cross over to one championship to get on a, you know, a little bit of a bigger stage in a sense of international attention. But we'll see what happens. If K1 gets a international broadcasting deal, you know, in that regard, maybe that could be a big competitor for one championship in Asia. And what's more, you know, there's still a lot of more, you know, small organizations. For example, M-Fusion, but also Shoot Boxing. Kaito is still chasing Bastadi. He's been knocking people out left and right, winning all top Glory contenders that used to be in the 70 kg division. Still chasing that belt. Not sure what is gonna happen, but hey, I'm all up for a second fight against Bastadi. But Glory might as well just restart the 70 kg division and let Kaito fight in that one as well. We'll see what happens. You know, this was a little bit of a throwback about what kickboxing did in the last year. So without further ado, let's start with the award show because I've got a lot of cool things to talk about and share with you guys. Alright, it's time for the award show. Man, 2024 has been such a ride. Let's take a look at the best of the best. I've got awards in 7 categories and the first one is the knockout of the year. The second, upset of the year. Third, upcoming fighter of the year. Fourth, event of the year. Fifth, organization of the year. Sixth, fight of the year. And number 7, the holy grail of the awards, the best fighter of the year. All right. Before I start, I don't want to make people upset because I want to talk about the criteria because I want to make this a little bit more digestible. So I only focus on the 4 biggest organizations right now, which of course is Glory, K1, Rise, and One Championship. There are some other organizations that have done very well. So only in exceptional cases, I will definitely talk about fights in other organizations. But I mostly will be focusing on the 4 biggest organizations of the world. Also, to make sure that everybody's on the same page, every category has its own criteria. The winner of the KO of the year has to be a statement knockout. So there are definitely a lot of knockouts that would be probably on par with the number 1 I chose. It has to be impactful. It's got to have a little bit of meaning.
Knock him the fuck out in the first round.
The same goes for upset. It has to be surprising, something so unexpected. For example, a newcomer who knocks out a champion. Upcoming fighter, I want to talk about a fighter who is, in the eye of the general public, a newcomer. Because real ones already know who those guys are. But for general audiences, I want to talk about the upcoming fighters that, that probably are still new to you. The best event of the year, everything has to be perfect. Almost all fights have to be awesome and there has to be a healthy mix of knockouts and decisions. And if possible, surprises as well. For best fight of the year, the fight shouldn't be only, very good. Obviously, it has to be great, but it has to be impactful as well. And it has to be, a fight should be going on for at least 2 rounds because if the fight ends in 1 round, I might as well could have nominated it for knockout of the year. For the best fighter of the year, you gotta be the best in your division. And not only that, your wins have to be impactful. You gotta be beating the best of the best. And if possible, a big streak helps. Especially against top competition, it's gotta have some impact on the zeitgeist. I will start with nominations first and then I will talk about who's going to win the award. Let's start with the Kickboxing Nerd Award Show. In the first award, we have the Knockout of the Year.
Stand-up fights, real knockout.
The knockout of 2024. Man, there were so many great knockouts. Let's talk about the nominees. The first one, Bobo Sacco knocking out David Mejia with a right cross during Glory 91 in Paris. Holy hell, man, that knockout was crazy because David Mejia, he came off of a decision loss against the champion Petch, but he held his own. So people were like, he's probably going to take on the newcomer in Glory, but nothing could be further from the truth. A right cross, and that's all she wrote. The second one, a little bit of the same thing in the sense like Jem Caceres made his debut in Glory during the Glory Light Heavyweight Grand Prix in the reserve bout against Muhammad Amin, of course, a Glory veteran. So everybody was like, Muhammad Amin, he has been having a losing streak for a while and this could be the chance for him to, come back. But it didn't happen that way because he got knocked the fuck out with an insane left hook. It was, man, his head almost turned like 180 degrees. It was so insane. Very good knockout. The third nomination is a very good one. It's the fight in the light heavyweight Grand Prix final where Donny Galbena knocked out Bahram Rajabzadeh, and he did it by way of a counter hook when Bahram Rajabzadeh made a flying knee and Donaghy picture perfect countered it, and that's it. Yeah, he stood up, but it was obvious he was finished because, a few punches and Bahram couldn't continue. Very awesome knockout. Fourth one, another Glory one. Milos Vetikanin. He knocked out Jamie Livinius in spectacular fashion because he used a uppercut to wobble the guy and knock him down. When Jamie got up, he knocked him out with an explosive right hook. Man, that was the best debut a fighter could have wished for. That was at Glory 95 in Glory's return to Zagreb. The fifth knockout is Miguel Trindade knocking out Kento Haraguchi with an overhand right during the Glory and Rise Featherweight Grand Prix. Man, that was such an incredible knockout. It was, Trindade was definitely one of the favorites going into that tournament, and he came with determination. He was ferocious, coming to knock everybody out, and Kento stood in his way of the title, and he had to blow him out of the ring, and he did. Go watch that knockout. In the sixth knockout nominee, we have Akihiro Kaneko knocking out Kan Meng Hong during the K1 World Max 2024 tournament final. He did it by punches, and this knockout was so insanely hard that his opponent had to be carried out the ring with a stretcher. The seventh and last nominee of the knockout of the year is the knockout by Leo C. He knocked out Sina Karimian with a right hook, and this knockout Karimian, he fell on the ground and was such a picture-perfect knockout. This was during the K1 World Max 2024 opening qualification round. You know, all these knockouts are amazing. There's so many more to talk about. For example, the knockout by Iancu, knocking out Murat Aygun. Awesome knockout as well. Miguel Trindade's knockout against Chad Collins. Man, there's so many great knockouts to choose from, but these are, in my opinion, the 7 best knockouts of the year. Who will be the one to take home this award? Well,
there's only one way to find out.
The winner is Miguel Trindade, knocking out Kento Haraguchi by right cross during the Glory and Rise Featherweight Grand Prix. You should definitely be watching it because this guy Trindade, he's a force to be reckoned with. He's definitely a future champion. Look at that physique, man. He's a In the next category, we have the upset of the year. Who surprised us? Who did the unexpected things? You know, this year has been full of surprises. Let's talk about the nominees. The first one is the fight between Bahram Rajabzadeh and Kuki Osaro during the Glory Heavyweight Grand Prix. To be honest, when this fight was announced, I was like, holy shit, this could be a great match. A guy who's like a huge guy who has fought for a title and a relatively, newcomer in a sense. Like Bahram has fought in Glory before, but it was during light heavyweight, and then he, qualified himself for the Grand Prix, and everybody was like, who is this guy? Who is this guy knocking people out? And then he fought against Osaro, and I was like, maybe Osaro could be a little bit too big for him, but nothing could be further from the truth because Bahram Rajabzadeh, he was hitting him from all sides, even jumping knees on his chin. Insane performance. And I think not a lot of people expected him to win, but he did. And he did very well, and the last year has been a great year for Bahram Rajabzadeh. I think this is a very good one to start off the upsets. In the second upset of the year, we're going to early 2024 in Japan during Rise El Dorado, and this event had a great fight between Chad Collins and Miguel Trindade. Yes, the same guy I talked about before. And this Miguel Trindade, he just came off a loss against Peposhi. So he came into Rise like, you know what, I gotta prove myself. And he did. He knocked out the Rise champion, Chad Collins. And the thing is, Chad Collins previously has defeated Petch. The year started off with a spectacle. The featherweight division was already entertaining. This brought a new kind of, a little bit of magic. It made the division so much more interesting to follow because everybody could beat everybody and everybody did beat each other. So it is a very interesting division, and this even made it more spectacular. And he did it by knockout, which is super impressive. The third nomination of this category is Yotkampen winning the K1 super lightweight tournament, the 65 kg tournament in K1, which was very impressive because Yotkampen has been, not doing very well in the last couple of years, and him winning the tournament is like, how, it was such a surprise. Alright, the third nominee wasn't necessarily an upset in a way of a fight, but he fought 3 opponents, so I thought, the fourth nominee for upset of the year is Kacper Muszynski defeating Stojan Koprivlensky during the K1 World Max 2024 opening qualification rounds. Stojan Koprivlensky still won the tournament, and Kacper Muszynski defeating Stojan Koprivlensky, which is, that's pretty impressive. So he's definitely someone who's supposed to be on this list. And the fifth nominee of upset of the year, it's a fight within one championship. Yes, I told that one championship isn't doing a lot of kickboxing these days, but they had a fight between the champion Regian Eersel versus Alexis Nicholas at One Fight Night 21. In that fight, Regian Eersel was definitely, the big favorite. He has been dominating the 77 kg division in one championship for a while now. So when Alexis Nicholas got his chance to fight versus the champion, nobody, and I mean nobody, expected him to defeat Regian Eersel. A big upset. Of course, there had to be a rematch, and eventually in the rematch, Regian Eersel defeated Alexis Nicholas to regain his championship belt again. But the fact that he got defeated by someone who nobody thought could defeat Regian, it's a feat in itself. In the sixth and final nominee for upset of the year, we have a fight which, in my opinion, is one of the biggest surprises of the year. That's a fight between Chinese kickboxer Lu Mengyang. He defeated Japanese star Masaaki Noiri. This was a big surprise for me because I've been praising Noiri as one of the biggest potential stars in 70 kg. I mean, he was doing so good in K1, and when he made the jump to one championship, I really expected him to, burst on the scene, defeating most of the top contenders, but it didn't happen. In his debut fight, he got matched up against Sidichai, the former Glory champion. Sidichai has been on a little bit of a decline, so I was Masaaki Noiri should have this one, but he didn't win. Eventually, because, you know, One Championship is trying to focus a little bit more on Japan, they decided to give him, in the eyes of many fans, a easy fight against Lu Mengyang. But in that fight, Noiri got knocked down and he eventually lost on a decision. For me, one of the biggest upsets of the year. If you've been watching kickboxing for a long time, especially if you're, then you know that Masaaki Noiri has been regarded as one of the top talents of the world. During the old K1, he was around 17 years young and he was part of the K1 Koshin tournament, which was an official K1 tournament in the, you know, for high schoolers. They were trying to find a new star and they found a potential star in Noiri, and I really thought that he would be making it on the big stage. But he lost against Lu Mengyang in one of the biggest upsets of the year. Alright, it's time for the winner for upset of the year. This is the winner. Lu Mengyang defeating Masaaki Noiri is definitely one of the biggest upset of the year. The guy barely had any kickboxing fights, you know, and defeating Noiri is such a big feat. I can't say anything else than this fight is the upset of the year. In the next category of the award show, we have a very interesting one because this category is the upcoming fighter of the year, and that's very interesting in a sense like these guys are going to be the stars of the future. These guys are going to be shaping 2025. Let's dive into it. The first one, Bahram Rajabzadeh, of course, he has done such a great job. He actually fought a whopping 8 fights. He won 6, 4 by knockout, which is very impressive. He's deserving on this list, definitely. The next two, you know, they couldn't be left out of this list, of course, are Mori Kroma and Jem Caceres, both big talents in the light heavyweight division as well. Mori Kroma has been doing great. He knocked out Mohamed Amin. He knocked out his first opponent. His last opponent was against another upcoming fighter in Milos Svetikani. And also, you know, Jem Caceres doing so great, also knocking out Mohamed Amin. He knocked out Stefan Letescu and he defeated Pascal Touré by impressive performance. These two guys are going to be, you know, the future of the light heavyweight division. The fourth nominee is also a glory fighter, a little bit of a rise fighter as well. Of course, I'm talking about Miguel Trindade. The fifth nominee is Milos Svetikani. And he is a, you know, this guy is awesome. He knows how to speak English very well, next to being such an awesome fighter, knocking out people. He started a year off in K1, even, you know, winning the qualifying tournament for the K1 World Grand Prix in December, but he never participated because he decided to go, you know, to glory. He knocked out his first opponent, Jimmy Levinius. His second fight was against Mori Kroma, a very high anticipated fight. He didn't win the fight, but he really showed what he could do in this division. And I can't wait for him to come back in another fight in glory. The sixth nominee is Kacper Muszynski. Man, he is such a talent. I already talked about him. He defeated Stoyan Koprivlansky. Unfortunately, he got injured in the K1 World Max tournament. I hope to see him next year as well because such a big talent and came out of nowhere. The seventh nominee is a Japanese fighter from Rise, Ryujin Nasukawa. Of course, he is the younger brother of Tenshin Nasukawa, one of the biggest kickboxing stars out there. Of course, he decided to go to boxing, which is a shame for kickboxing fans. But you know, his little brother is doing very well in Rise right now, and I can't wait what the future holds for him in 2025. So, who will be the winner of the upcoming fighter of the year? It's so incredibly difficult to choose one winner because all these guys have done so well in the last year, you know, but I gotta pick a winner. So many great guys, but if I look at who has had the toughest competition and has defeated the most high-level names, you know, I think I gotta go with Miguel Trindade again because, you know, he started off the year by knocking out Chad Collins, the Rise champion, who defeated Petch in the past, and then he came back into glory, defeating Abraham Vidalas, who was the #1 ranked featherweight upon that point. Then he got back in Rise, well, the Glory and Rise Grand Prix. First round, he defeated the former Rise champion by knockout Kento Haraguchi. Then he got in the semifinals, defeating Chad Collins again by knockout, and eventually he didn't win the Grand Prix when he faced off against Petch. We did show that he's got a lot of heart and he's definitely someone to watch out for the future because he's only 23. Sky is the limit. It's a matter of time, you know, that he will take the title. Let's talk about the event of 2024, and I have 3 nominees. The first one, the Glory Light Heavyweight Grand Prix. An awesome tournament, you know, the 8-man tournament, 8 of the very best light heavyweights in the world in one tournament, in one night. You have to win 3 times to become the Grand Prix champion. This tournament was so awesome that only one fight ended in a decision. All the other fights were ended in knockouts, which is awesome. That's what you want to see, you know, a spectacular event with top fights, a lot of knockouts, surprises, everything happened in this tournament. Number 2, the Glory and Rise Featherweight Grand Prix. Man, that one is awesome as well. Every fight was awesome. They had knockouts, they had surprises. Champions were fighting in this tournament. Former champions were fighting in this tournament. The 4 best fighters in Glory versus the 4 best fighters in Rise, which is awesome by itself. This night really impressed. It really put on a stamp on the featherweight division. Like, I think a lot of people were surprised by how awesome these guys are because, in the general audiences, a lot of people don't talk about featherweight. They mostly talk about, light heavyweight or maybe heavyweight. But, featherweight is just one of the best divisions out there. And this 8-man tournament was the perfect advertisement for this division. The third nominee is the K1 World Max tournament. It's the return of the K1 World Max. When Glory dropped the 70 kg division, I was like, man, what will happen with this division? And when K1 decided to come back with the K1 World Max, I was really excited. The 70 kg division historically has been one of the very best. So there was a lot of pressure for K1 World Max to perform as they did in the early zeros. And honestly, they really did. They had new talents, like Kacper Muszynski, Dengue Silva, Daryl Verdonk, of course, fighters like Hiromi Wajima, Ouyang Feng. They actually brought back Wakao, and of course, another big name in Stoyan Koprivlansky, who eventually won the tournament. And man, again, they delivered. But if I have to pick a winner, I gotta go with the Glory Light Heavyweight Grand Prix because this had everything. It was awesome and it's deserving to win this one. Thinking about this, I just want to watch this again, man. It was so awesome. Alright, we go to the next award. It's the Organization of the Year. As mentioned, I'm talking about 4 organizations, which are Glory, K1, Rise, and 1 Championship. But for this one, honestly, I actually can't say I want to nominate 1 Championship because they haven't been focusing on kickboxing that much. It's mostly about Muay Thai, a little bit of MMA, and a little bit about kickboxing. Of course, they had some awesome fights. For example, Takeru, always awesome, Rotang and Superlag, great fighters. But it's just too hard to follow 1 championship based on divisions. It's just a little bit of random fights. People do like to watch them, but it's hard to think about what is next. And if we look at Glory, for example, it's very easy to follow because they have divisions and these guys are the champions who will be the next challengers in line. It's a little bit more clear about what the future holds for the organization in Glory. The same goes for K1 as well, Rise as well, because Rise has been doing very, very consistent programming. They have been doing, I think, 15 events now in this year. Looking at Glory, they did 10 events. K1 did 9. They were all about kickboxing, and that's what we as kickboxing fans want to see. And in that regard, I'm only going to nominate these 3. To be honest, there are some organizations that are doing very well at the moment. For example, Sanchi has been doing great, and Fusion as well. But I have to look at the biggest organizations. But if I have to pick a winner, I gotta go with Glory. I know I have been very critical about Glory in the past year, but still they have been doing very well. They had 3 Grand Prix, they had a collision show, and they had some, numbered show that performed as well. There are some potential stars in the making, at least, fan favorites. A lot of upcoming fighters, a lot of great knockouts have been in the organization. Not as much as I wished for. I'm gonna make a video about that as well, but the thing is, they did very well this last year. So they are the winner of Best Organization in 2024. Let's go to one of the awards that a lot of people are waiting for because this is about the Fight of the Year. Who will be the winner of the Fight of 2024? Of course, a very difficult one because there were so many great fights. Let's talk about the nominees. The first one, the first fight between Donigi Abena and Tarek Kababas during the Glory Heavyweight Grand Prix. It was the first time they fought against each other, and bad blood started off during that fight because a lot happened during the build-up to this fight. They almost started a fist fight during the press conference. The build-up was awesome. The first one kicked off the rivalry, and this fight was awesome. The second fight I nominate is the fight between Miguel Trindade and Abraham Vidalas during Glory 93. It was an awesome fight, a very technical spectacle. It was obvious that Miguel Trindade was doing better than Vidalas, but they both put up a great fight. I've said it before, the featherweights always bring the heat. The next one is Theodor Hristov facing off against Robin Siric during Glory 96 in Rotterdam. Awesome fight. 2 guys who know to do spinning shit, which is awesome. Spinning back kicks, spinning back fists, spinning hook kicks. They did everything. It was awesome. And while I felt like Theodor Hristov was winning the first 2 rounds, but he got knocked down by Robin Siric, what made sure there had to be an extra round. And in the extra round, it was awesome again. A big awesome fight between 2 awesome fighters, and eventually with Theodor Hristov taking home the victory. And this fight was a title eliminator in retrospect. Awesome fight. The 4th nomination is the fight between the welterweight champion Chico Quasi and the lightweight champion Tijani Bistari during Glory 96 Rotterdam as well. The fight itself, it wasn't as spectacular in my opinion as the fight fight between Ristov and Siric. But the thing was, there was a lot of weight in this fight because we have one champion in a division and another champion in another division, and those two colliding, it was awesome. You know, there was a great story behind it. It was also a clash of styles as well. It was awesome. The 5th nomination of Best Fight of the Year is the 3rd fight between Tariq Kababes and Donige Abena. Of course, there was a lot of bad blood between those two guys, and you know, in their first fight, it was a title match for 5 rounds. The second fight was in the semi-final of the Glory Light Heavyweight Grand Prix. The first fight was won by Kababes, the second fight was won by Abena, so the third fight had to take place, and it took place during Collision 7, and I had the honor to be there in the arena, and it was an awesome fight. Eventually, Kababes won the fight, he won the trilogy, but you know, I can't imagine that this will be the last time they will be fighting, because if these guys are matched up with each other, it's going to be spectacular. It's one of the better fights of the year, definitely. In the 6th nominee of the Fight of the Year, we have Jan Kaffa taking on Yutaro Asahi during the Glory and Rise Featherweight Grand Prix. This fight was for the reserve spot of the tournament, and man, this fight, it was awesome. To be honest, when I first predicted this fight, I was like, you know, Jan Kaffa should win this fight. But when the fight started, Asahi was putting on the pressure. I was like, wow, he's really good. In the second round, Jan Kaffa came back with a spinning back fist, dropping Asahi. He got the 8th count, got back up, the fight continued. Then they came into the 3rd round, and then a jumping knee on the face of Jan Kaffa made sure that Kaffa dropped on the ground, and he stood up again. Asahi came with another jumping knee. He didn't hit the knee on the face. Jan Kaffa fell to the ground, and the referee thought that was a knockdown, so he waved off the fight because it's a tournament rule. You know, 2 knockdowns in 1 round makes for a technical knockout. Of course, Jan Kaffa protested because it wasn't on his face. It was almost like a knockdown by his crotch. And I can imagine his frustration, but these things happen, unfortunately. But still, it was such an amazing fight. I don't mind the rematch. It was awesome. In the 7th nominee of Fight of the Year, we have Durian Poposhi taking on Sang-Yan Lee during the Glory and Rise Featherweight Grand Prix as well. This was an awesome fight. Poposhi is known for getting into a nominee of Fight of the Year like every year. He is so entertaining. He always comes to fight, always comes to knock your head off. Lee put on a great fight against Poposhi, and in the 2nd round, he even dropped Poposhi. But at the end of the 2nd round, Poposhi dropped Lee as well. And then in the 3rd round, it was so competitive, but in the last second, a sneaky knee by Lee came onto the chin of Poposhi, and he got dropped. You know, he stood up very fast, but the referee still gave him the count, and eventually, you know, Lee won the fight and continued to the semi-final. The last nomination of Fight of the Year is the fight between Dengue Silva and Daryl Verdonk during the K1 World Max Tournament Final. This was an awesome fight, a fight between 2 guys who are, you know, upcoming in the 70 kg division. These guys are here to make a name for themselves, and they did. It was a technical brawl. No, I can't say it was a technical brawl. It was just a brawl. It was awesome. You know, Dengue Silva is much taller than Daryl Verdonk, so Daryl had to come close, use his haymakers to hit him on the face, and Dengue Silva using his steeps to push him on in the distance. The combination of these styles made sure for a very awesome fight, and eventually Dengue Silva won the fight. Eventually came to the semi-final, facing off against Stoinkov Privlensky and losing against him. But you know, Daryl Verdonk did give up a big fight, and I can't wait to see these guys in the future again, because these guys are, man, these guys could be big names for the 70 kg division. So who is winning the Fight of the Year award? Again, this one is so difficult. All these guys, they put on a great show. To be honest, if I look at these fights, they are equally awesome. But I have to pick one winner. And if I have to take a winner, I have to go with what I like to see, because I like spinning shit. And if I say I like spinning shit, you guys probably know which fight I'm talking about. That's the fight between Theodor Ristov and Robin Siric. In my opinion, that is the best fight of the year. And of course, we got an extra round. I know a lot of people are still saying, oh, Robin Siric should have won the fight. Whatever the case may be, it just was an awesome fight. And that's what we're here for as kickboxing fans. I thought Theodor Ristov did enough to win this fight, but you know, that's kickboxing, and I enjoy to discuss these things with you guys. Again, very difficult to choose the best fight of the year, and I can't wait what 2025 is going to be for these guys. In the last category, of course, we have the Fighter of the Year. Before I start with the nominees, I want to do some honorable mentions, because there were fighters I was like, these guys could have been nominated, but eventually I decided not to, and I'll tell you why. First one is Donige Abena. If he won the title, he was definitely nominated as Fighter of the Year, because although he lost against Tariq Kababes in his first fight, he eventually won the Grand Prix, all fights by knockout. And if he won the title fight, the trilogy match with Tariq Kababes, he should have been nominated 100%. But because he lost the fight, unfortunately, he didn't make the cut. Another fighter, same story. If Miguel Trindade won the Grand Prix, he should have been nominated as well, but he didn't. He lost against the champion. Petch. Alright, let's talk about Fighter of the Year. Let's talk about the nominees. The first one, Rico Verhoeven. Of course, he won the Glory Heavyweight Grand Prix and he also defended his title against Levi Rigters. This guy has been on top of the heavyweight division for more than 10 years. He has defended his title 11 times. It's very impressive. You know, a lot of people were very critical about him. He never won a Grand Prix like in the old days, and now he did, and still people are very critical about his performance. And you know, everybody's got his right to talk about what they like and what they don't, but you can't deny he's one of the best at this moment, and that's why I nominate him as Fighter of the Year. Second nominee, of course, I gotta go with Petch. Petch won the Grand Prix, even defended his title as well, and after he won the Grand Prix, he won a fucking sword. I mean, a fucking Rise and Glory sword. That's just awesome. Third nominee is Akihiro Kaneko, who won the K1 tournament of 55 kilograms. This guy has been on a roll for a long time now. Of course, he had some crazy fights with Kimura, but he held his own, and you know, he proved himself as one of the best 55 kilogram fighters of the planet. The second K1 fighter I am nominating right now is Yuki Yosa. He has been doing so awesome, defeating his opponents by knockout. He fights in the 63 kilogram division and he looks unstoppable right now. But the thing is, he's not sure if he's going to continue in K1 or if he's going to another organization. You know, whatever the case may be, I just want to see him fight again because he's one of the best and he's so entertaining to watch. But who is the winner? Who is the fighter of 2024? I gotta go with Petch. Petch and the other guys I've nominated has had some kind of a similar road this year because just like Petch, Rico Verhoeven and Akihiro Kaneko both won a tournament. These guys all defended their titles. But if we compare Petch to, for example, Rico Verhoeven, both have fought in the tournament. But if you look at Rico Verhoeven, he defeated in his first fight Soufiane Laidouni, in the second one Nabil Kachab, and the third one he defeated Levi Rigters, and his title fight Levi Rigters as well. And if we look at Petch, he defended the title against Kento Haraguchi, the former Rise champion, and in the tournament he defeated in the first round Taiju Shiratori, in the second round he defeated Lee Sung-young, and in the final of course he defeated Miguel Trindade. And of course Petch has been on a roll for a couple of years now and he doesn't look like he's gonna be stopped anytime soon. And the thing is, he's still a young guy, only 29. Sky is the limit, and if you look at the division, he has been defeating the best of the best, top competition. So yeah, he's been doing so awesome, and I know a lot of people have been critical about him, and I get it. He doesn't knock people out that much, but he is so technical, versatile, and just one of the best. And I can't wait what the future holds for him. Alright, this was the Kickboxing Nerd Award Show. What did you think about the nominees and the winners? Do you agree with me or do you not agree with me? Let me know in the comments because I love to discuss with you guys what you guys think. I can't wait what 2025 has in store for us because kickboxing is in a really great place right now, and I believe it's going to be more awesome for this year. Man. Also, let me know what you are looking forward to in 2025 because there are already fights announced, and maybe there are fights that you are looking forward to that aren't announced yet, but you might want to see, for example, Mori Kroma against Bahram Rajabzadeh, or maybe you want to see a dream fight between Petch and Yuki Yosa. Let me know, what do you want to see? Also, I have a few videos in store for you guys because I've been working on a video where I talk about the future of kickboxing. I've been working on this one for a while now. I can't wait to release this video. And of course, before I go, like always, like this video, subscribe to the channel. And again, I appreciate you guys watching this video. I see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.